25 credit repair secrets. This is part 21 of this 25-part series. We're talking about forgiven debt. So if you have charge-offs, this kind of runs over from the whole charge-off thing and how to correct charge-offs from your credit report, because charge-offs are really hard. And guess what? Sometimes you just have to put in a little bit of effort in order to get them corrected. So let's jump into it. I want to thank you for watching. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. If you have not by now, make sure that you have subscribed on YouTube and most importantly, join the credit community. All of these videos along with the guide and the entire course to this 25-part series is inside of the credit community. Inside of the credit community, you're also going to have access to all of the replays and master classes that I've had with previous guests. We talk about business credit, personal credit, trade lines, business trade lines, funding, and so much more, giving you the tools that you need in order to achieve your goals that much quicker. So let's go ahead and get into it. Forgiven debt. What does this all mean? So if you have a charge off with a bank, or say you had a repossession, whatever the case may be, you have a charge off on your credit report from the original creditor who gave you the loan or credit product. Okay, they're saying you still owe a balance. If that balance is, whatever amount, call them up and say, hey, will you please issue me a 1099-C, which is a cancellation of debt. All right. They may do it automatically. Now, are they required to do it? Absolutely not. But you can request that they write off this debt. Say, hey, look, I'm low income. I'm this, I'm that. I'm a farm worker, whatever the case may be, right? You're not going to get paid. Please issue me a, 1099-C. Forgive the debt so I can move on with my life. Once they forgive the debt, or say you make a settlement offer and they forgive a large portion and you only have to pay a small portion, they're going to issue a 1099-C based on whatever amount of debt was forgiven by that financial institution. They will file that paperwork with the IRS and they will give you a copy of it. Now, if it's over $600, you may have to pay taxes on it. Now, if you fall under some of the, circumstances that are a little bit special, which right here, you're insolvent, your debt was discharged in a Title 11 bankruptcy. The debt was from a qualified home indebtedness, meaning the debt usually comes from taking out a loan or buy or improve on a loan. Now, this actually happened to me where I received a 1099 from a mortgage modification and they forgave, I think it was like 30, 50 something. It was a large amount of money, like 30,000 or 50,000. They actually forgave because I was underwater, which is, part of what happened in like 2008 when the economy crashed, right? I had just bought a house in 2007. So I was like immediately underwater over 100K in the purchase of the home. So when I went through the modification process, they forgave a portion of the loan and I actually had to pay taxes on that. So it ended up being about $7,000 that I had to pay on taxes for that forgiven amount. So, you might have to pay taxes if that is the case, like they forgive it on a loan modification, but you can check with your CPA. Of course, this is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a CPA or lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice, but always check with a CPA in regards to if you have to file taxes on this 1099-C, or if you can qualify for, exemption basically. And then if your debt was qualified from a farm indebtedness, if you took out a loan to improve farmland, it didn't go so well, that's an exemption right there. The debt was qualified as real estate property, business indebtedness. So again, there's different areas where you might might fall into categories where you could potentially claim that you're exempt from, paying taxes on this forgiven debt. But it's always worth a try for you to call the creditor and ask them if they would be willing to just forgive the debt, cancel the debt, issue you a 1099-C, and call it a day. Because once they issue that 1099, they cannot go back and try to collect on it years later. It's done. It's going to update to a zero balance. And this is great for you because that's going to stop it from reporting month after month after month as a collection charge-off, right? And unfortunately, with the original creditor, there is no such thing as a pay for deletion. Like, hey, if I pay you, you can just delete it off my credit report. That doesn't apply to original creditors because that method is only for third-party collection agencies, meaning, they weren't there to begin with. So once you settle it, they're not going to be there again, right? But with the original creditor, this is an account that you had established, paid on, so by law, they are obligated to report it as accurate. Once the update has been taken place and the balance is zero, it's no longer going to report. So now you can actually start disputing it. I mean, you can dispute it beforehand, but the chances of them being able to validate that the debt truly belongs to you is highly likely because at one point, you probably made payments to this from your actual bank account. You had statements mailed there. So a lot of times it's really hard to get out of having to pay for your debts and, credits that, just didn't work out in your favor. And sometimes those things happen. But what you can do is ask for forgiveness. You can also reach out to high-level executives and management of these credit companies and ask them to provide you with debt forgiveness, debt cancellation, where they cancel the debt on their end. If it is truly a charge-off and they've already written it off in their books, then it would only make sense for them to truly write it off in their books. In order for a company to truly write it off in their books as canceled debt, then they would actually need to file a 1099-C with the IRS. So it only makes sense for them to do that and then issue the 1099 to you and update the balance to zero. It stops reporting. You can then continue to dispute that data with the credit bureaus and ultimately just try to get that entire account deleted based on the inaccuracies. You get your 3B report. It's really easy to look at all of the different credit bureaus side by side, 3B, 3 bureau, right? So I'm looking at Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And if all that data isn't aligning, it's not all correct. There's dates that are off. There's balances that are off. They need to delete that information. If they're not going to report 100% accurate information, they need to delete it. And that's exactly what you need to put in your dispute letter. And you can send in any sort of proof or additional supporting documentation that you have that can support your claim. Like if you did get issued a 1099-C, but the credit bureaus are still reporting a balance for some stupid reason, then you can send that in to them and say, hey, this is totally inaccurate. This is a huge violation. I demand that you delete this from my credit reports because it's not accurate. The account belongs to me. You don't have to say that, but in our heads, yeah, the account belongs to me. But the thing about the law says if the information is not 100% accurate, then they have to correct it or delete it, right? And in our case, we want them to delete it. We don't want them to correct it. And oftentimes when they say that they've updated something or they've corrected something, a lot of times they never do anything about it. And the data is all messed up. They're reporting late payments on a charge-off. They're reporting all this crazy data all over the place. And this is a prime example on how you can take that data and send it into the credit bureaus and say, look, this data is absolutely wrong. I demand that you delete it. Here's the proof that I have from the bank. Here's a copy of my credit report on what you're reporting. It's completely false, outdated, and incomplete. I demand that you delete. Okay, have ChatGPT write up a custom dispute letter for yourself, list it out to all the credit bureaus, and you're done. Okay, you need to send in a copy of your ID card, social security card, and proof of address. And you want to send that certified mail return receipt so you have proof that they received it. Okay, you're building a case against them in case you might want to take this to arbitration one day, or you might want to sue them one day because they are reporting false information. And you can also prove, hey, I sent them this on this date. You know, this was my proof for them to correct it, and they failed to do so. So that's a violation. Build your case against these companies. Get your wins, guys. This is all about 1099-C debt and how it works. And, you know, there's a bunch of information also inside of the credit community on this. And all of this information is inside of the guide, the 25 credit repair secrets guide. I put together a guide that has all of this information and all of the resources available to you. And sometimes it's just a matter of asking, you know, sending a letter to the bank and ask them, you know, if you have a connection at the bank or a relationship manager at the bank, having them put a request in to simply forgive the debt. Okay. And based on, you know, the hardship that you're dealing with. And if they say no, just continue to request it every 6 to 12 months, because if they're going to write it off, they should truly write it off. Okay. I doubt they're going to try to collect on it. I doubt they're going to try to sue you on it. So the best thing for both parties is for them to truly write off the debt and cancel it out and forgive it. Cancel, forgive, equal 1099-C. My name is Credit Coach Nicole Scott. Thank you so much for joining and watching. Please make sure that you have watched all of the 25-part series inside of the Credit Repair Secrets. The playlist is up here in the corner somewhere, and the guide has links throughout the video and is also in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to watch the next video coming up next.